So James, I just wanted to ask you a question. When it comes to selling your home and like what a house is actually worth, like what would you say are the hidden costs of a market value house?
So a lot of people don't know, or let me put it a different way. A lot of people are not aware of the impact that fees will have on their transaction when they're on the market. For example, for easy numbers here, if let's say the market value of a home is $100,000 or the sales price of a home is $100,000, you're going to pay 6 to 8% just for the agent on average. 8% of that is going to be 8 grand off of that, right? So now you're down to 92,000. On top of that, you're going to have closing costs. At minimum, you're going to split closing costs, which is like 2.5%. So that's another 2.5%. So that's another 2,500. So now you're down to $89,000. And then you may have some concessions unless your house is absolutely perfect, which most are not. And even if they are, we have properties on the market. They are perfect, and people are still asking concessions. This was probably going to be to the tune of $10,000. And here's a fact. In the month of August, 68% of properties that were closed on had concessions. And so most deals that are closing, you're going to get it. You're going to get it. And it's going to be another 10,000. So that takes us from 89 to 79,000. Before you know it, you're at and holding costs. So let's say it took you 3 months to sell and your mortgage is $1,000. It's another 3,000. And so now we're at 76,000, right? Let's say someone came in and offered 70,000 for cash. A seller will look at that and say, "Hey, I'm not going to accept this low ball." Wait. How? It's not a low ball when you factor in all the hidden cost with the listing. You're all the way down to netting 76 grand and you got to offer cash for 70 grand. It's pretty much the same deal at the end of the day. And so most sellers are just simply not aware of the anticipated costs that they're going to incur just by going on the market.
So overall, like when people are listing their homes, there's that they a great education point for them would be, or a great nugget to take away is that just because my house sells for, let's say you're using your number, 100,000, doesn't mean me as a seller I walk away with 100,000.
Not at all.
It's going to be pretty much way less than that when you factor in all of those costs, fees, concessions, things of that nature.
And maybe they had a mortgage balance of 50, right? And so that means they're only walking away with 26 grand at the end of it all.
Yeah.
At the end of it all.
And the one thing that, about this, what always sticks out is time.
Yeah.
Like, would you say like a cash now because you're going to get paid
Yeah.
regardless, right?
Average time on the market right now is about 54 days. That's average time. So you got to factor in that some properties are priced so well, they're going to sell in one day. Other properties are priced so horribly that they're going to be sitting on the market for 1,000 days. And it happens. I mean, if you go on the MLS in Vegas and type in and sort it by newest and then scroll to the bottom, 100% you're going to see 3 to 4 properties that have been sitting for over 1,400 days, which is insane. And that happens. And so obviously, even with that average, is skewed in both directions. So realistically, your house is probably going to take 70 to 90 days to sell on the market. And so you're looking at 3 months of holding costs potentially. And if you're in a time crunch, you're probably not going to hit your goals. And those are the individuals who call us last minute and they're like, "Hey, I thought I was going to sell. I had no showings. I just had a call like this morning. I had no showings. I had no interest. I got no offers. I need to leave in 1 week. What can we do?" And so now we're helping this seller out in Henderson, for example. But that happens a lot just because they are not aware of what to expect. And part of that is failure to the agent. And I'm not talking about, the top tier agents. I'm not talking about you, okay? But most agents don't do a good job with setting expectations.
So you say it's an education thing about like how agents are not necessarily looking at all factors. They're just looking at maybe just what they think the house can go to, but not what the true cost of the house is and what the true cost of time.
Yeah.
Okay.
So 80% of what we do, including agents, is education. The other 20% are ancillary factors.
I would 100% agree with you on that. And that is that thing, so like the true hidden costs, is it's always going to be financial, holding costs, concessions, time, and then like honestly, this time, for the most part is like for that client that you had in Henderson, they wasted so much time when they could have actually already had that money in hand. And then also like what I was seeing more and more with cash deals, you cash offers, you go under contract, you pretty much close. Can you actually say that the same for someone who has a house in the market and they're waiting for let's say like a loan approval? Can you maybe dive into that a little bit?
Not at all. I mean, honestly, unless it's listed, 30, 40% below market value. And then it's pretty much a done deal. You know you're going to find a buyer then, right?
Yeah.
But in most cases, no. They have no certainty. Most inventory is sitting. Most. And the reason is because we had one of the largest spikes in over a decade in inventory in recent times. And that means buyers have more optionality. With optionality comes discernment. With discernment comes rejection. And that means if I go into a neighborhood and Mr. Homeowner is trying to sell his property at 380, and then I got a new build down the street. New builds and existing homes are about the same at this point. In some cases, new builds are less expensive, right? And I got a new build here for 380. Why in the world would I take Mr. Homeowner at 380? And I'm going to have to put in 25, 30,000 to make it look like this new build.
Charm? I don't know.
If I'm paying 380,000 for a house, I want something nice, right? I don't want to live in something that if that's market value, I don't want to buy that if I'm going to have to put 30, 40 grand into it. And this is how most buyers are thinking, retail buyers. And so when I go into that neighborhood and I got those two options, 100% of the time, they're going to choose a new build. And sometimes it's not a new build. Sometimes it's just a property that was flipped down the street, right? But it looks so much better. It's the same price. I had a seller today. The property is listed for $495. I ran comps on it. The market value of that same property is $470. And there are other options in the neighborhood. Actually, I think it's new builds in that neighborhood, if I remember correctly. Now, let me ask you a question. Do you think that house at $495 for Mr. Homeowner, do you think it's going to sell?
No.
Not a chance.
This also brings me into like another thing that I want to kind of cover today. What do you think about homeowners who hear this and say, I'm gonna just do it myself. I'm gonna remodel my kitchen, or I'm gonna take care of the renovations in my home. Like what would your thoughts or advice be for them?
So now, at the end of the day, everyone's situation is different, right? So there could be a myriad of reasons why doing the rehab yourself is not a good idea. Hey, maybe it is. Not saying it's not, but in most cases, it's not.
It's not for me. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
Offhand.
Yeah, most people don't have the budget to do so. And even if they do, the cost of the materials and labor that they pay for could be totally different from someone else. When I say totally different, I mean a lot more expensive. Now, you could definitely cut corners, but then you're going to get an ugly job done. And then you're still going to have trouble selling it after you sunk 20 grand into it. You know what I mean?
Don't tell my wife about the cabinets.
I won't, I promise.
I know firsthand.
I won't, I promise. I will say nothing. And the second thing is, a lot of these people don't have the time. Let's just be honest. They literally don't have the time to do so. Somebody like us, we can go in, we can do a renovation, and it's a full renovation. It takes 2 weeks. That same exact renovation would take a homeowner 2 months. So now you got to factor in holding costs once again that you're paying in terms of the mortgage or any debt you have on the property that you're paying down. That's a part of your cost basis when you're renovating the property. It's called holding costs. And then you have the actual cost of the renovation. And that includes the labor and materials. Before you know it, you're up to $30,000, $32,000, $35,000, and you're still sitting on the property. And you need it to sell quick. And now you have to wait for it to sell in the market because as the homeowner, you're not an expert, let's be honest. You're probably going to think, oh, because I did this, what's the top of the market? Let's put it there. Go 10 grand above. 100%. A lot of people will look at your post and they're going to skip it. And when that happens, you pretty much ruin your chance for future prospects because the people who already looked, they already looked. They're moving on. Now they're on to other options. You just missed a potential buyer because, let's be honest, sometimes it's ego. Sometimes it's, it's ego. They think they can do it better than the investors. And so they lose out on time and money. And sometimes those situations become worse.
Yeah, I would have to say like that's just something that I see very often out there in the space, especially for the fact that, when you think about you're doing a renovation yourself, you're pretty much trying to come with a budget. You have your budget. Now, a lot of times you may not have an available team. You're also looking to who's going to be the best person to do kitchen or whether who's going to be the best person to do plumbing.
And we already
And
got it figured out.
exactly. There so it's this it's not as turnkey. And then one of the things that, like people don't really think about is that when you are doing those types of fixing up your house actually becomes no longer your home, but a quasi construction site. So
Yeah.
if you're living in the house while all this is going on, it's going to be loud, it's going to be messy, it's going to be noisy, going to keep the kids. You're not going to have that comfort. And then so also you have to think about that, like depending on the scope of work, what you're looking to do to increase the value of your home, you may have to like find another place to live. Next thing you know, most people do not factor that into their budget. So they like, oh yeah, to redo my kitchen, to do some flooring, it's going to cost, I don't know, 20,000. But then when they start doing the work, oh, our house isn't really livable for these next couple weeks, possibly a month. What can we do? Now you have to go find another short-term rental, uproot your family. So it's not as easy as, oh yeah, I'm gonna find the right person. I'm gonna go on like homefixers.com, or like there's so many different places where they say they bring the experts. It's not as simple as 1, 2, 3. Because once you're in it, you realize that why put yourself through the stress when you can just offload that to someone who's doing this daily, multiple times a month with many different houses, and it can be a smooth, quick transition.
It's such a great point because look, selling a house is already inherently stressful, right? Inherently. Let's say your stress is at 1 when you're just selling. It's automatically at 1. If you do the renovation yourself, that takes it from 1 to a 5 immediately. Immediately. So just let us do it.
Yeah. Don't do it unless you know a guy. That's it.